one should be satisfied with the fact that we have achieved what we have achieved. It's not nothing. Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. Today I want to talk about perfectionism in language learning. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe, click on the bell for notifications. And if you follow me on a podcast service, please leave a comment. I do appreciate it. Now, what do I mean by perfectionism? I think I could also term perfectionism in language learning the desire to perform. How did I do? I've compared that urge to sort of be judged, or the fear to be judged. It's sort of like an Olympic diver. And to me, language learning is very different from Olympic diving or any kind of performance sport. We learn languages in order to communicate. So this might mean in order to understand a movie, in order to watch a series on Netflix and get a sense of some maybe distorted sense of the culture, but nevertheless to enjoy that experience, to understand, and also to communicate, to speak. Communicate ideas, communicate feelings. It's all about communication. So now, of course, we would all like to speak as well as we can, as correctly as we can. And to that extent, it is useful to, every now and again, study grammar. Because there are things when we just listen and read that we don't notice in the language. I've said this before. Some things have to be pointed out to us. And even after they're pointed out to us, we still won't get them right. I mean, again, we've had this experience of correcting a mistake and making the same mistake again and again and again. And the reason that happens is because, in my mind, the process of learning a language is a process of creating new neural connections in the brain establishing some patterns, us slowly getting used to this new language. But we get used to it, or we get accustomed to it, in a very individual way. It's very much influenced by our native language. And so some people are going to acquire a series of habits in the language that might be with better pronunciation or worse pronunciation, or more grammatically correct or less grammatically correct. While we want to get better, we shouldn't be so worried about how we're doing, worried about how we're being judged, that we miss the main goal, which is communication. The reason I bring this up right now, because amongst the comments here, someone said, "Oh, Steve, in fact, I get this quite often. You say you speak 20 languages. In fact, you don't. The other day you spoke Italian and you were very rusty," and so forth and so on. True. And there are languages that I have spoken and I would have trouble speaking right now, at least initially. But those are still languages that I have invested a lot of time into learning. Those are languages like, say, Korean, where I'm not at all happy at my ability to produce the language or even to understand the language. I have, at least on our count and link, a large passive vocabulary. I understand how the language works, the structures in the language, because I've seen these patterns so many, many times. But I haven't been using it, and therefore I can't speak it very well, if at all. I can speak it, but not very well. But if I were to go to Korea, it wouldn't take me a day or two before I would be able to speak fairly well. When I was in Greece or Prague or Romania, I was also communicating, not perfectly, but communicating. So languages that we learn to a degree which is less than perfect, those are still languages that we have learned to some extent. We have enjoyed learning. We have discovered bits of. And if that is true for languages that I don't speak as well as I would like, say Italian, which might be my 10th language, it's also true for someone who is learning their first foreign language. In other words, it's always not quite as good as we would like. However, it's very much a personal thing. It's your foreign language. It's your English. It's your Italian. It's your Spanish. And one should be satisfied with the fact that we have achieved what we have achieved. It's not nothing, even though we would all like to improve. And that's another reason why, and we've had this debate before here about pitch accent in Japanese. I lived in Japan for 9 years. I've been speaking Japanese for 40, 50 years. Never even knew until recently that there was such a thing as pitch accent. It never prevented me from communicating. I do not believe the Japanese people, by and large, are bothered by someone who has improper pitch accent, whatever that might mean. We don't need to seek perfection. We don't need to. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to achieve perfection. There's nothing wrong with focusing on one language and trying to be as accurate with the grammar as possible, trying to get pitch accent right in Japanese and all of these other things. But it's not necessary. And if you don't do those things, you can still enjoy the language. You can still say you speak the language. Because, performing to a degree of perfection is a very limited aspect of what's involved in learning a language. And I think to the extent that people are concerned about nailing these things down, it probably inhibits them. And it reduces the enjoyment of language learning. It makes us less likely to engage with the language, to speak the language. And we all know that the more we engage with the language, the more we listen, the more we read, the more we speak, the more we make mistakes, the more we're going to improve in time. So, I just mentioned that because people often say, well, you say you speak 20 languages, but you're not very good in any of them. And yeah, I'm not going to be as good in 20 languages as someone who focuses on one. And there's always people who are better than me, better than you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment that we can all achieve in learning one or more foreign language. So that's what I had to say about the pursuit of perfectionism. Thank you for listening.